All right, class, let's go ahead and look at what I want you to be taking care of over the particularly week 5, which will consist of January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But we technically would be meeting on January, of course, January 2nd, 4th, and 5th would be when our actual meeting days would occur. But you'll find this folder. This video is automatically inside your week 5 folder, which primarily is going to focus on planting a naysayer and counterargument material, as well as getting started on writing workshop 2. The writing workshop 2 material will be uploaded by Wednesday, so please you will need to come back and look at this. But let's start with the counterargument material. And of course, starting off right out the bat here, I have and you'll see, first of all, you'll see the video above this, but right below it, you'll find this little information about the counter argument. And I do recommend that you go and make sure that you look at the 2 PowerPoints, which you can be found over here in the They Say, I Say corner. Particularly chapter 6, this material will be something that we'll come back to and look at when we get into writing workshop 3. But of course, I have a little rundown here of understanding looking at counter arguments inside of and what we were actually dealing with when we deal with the counter arguments. And what we're really dealing with here is the idea of anticipating the possible other side or objections. So I would definitely want to make sure that you guys go ahead and review this material, and especially this box here when it says when we engage in dealing with counter arguments in writing, we need to examine the process. First of all, we represent our argument and our reasons first. That's what we do inside a classical model. After we presented our side, we are going to entertain potential arguments against our own, and then of course after that we want to entertain those other arguments we need to, and then of course once we've entertained them we want to refute them. Okay, and here is just a little laydown of the classical model we've been using. And so starting with the counter argument, now this can take many different forms, but it does kind of involve a two-step, three-step process. First of all, step 1, you'll need to make sure you have one of the following. You'll have to need to come up with these eventually, but you'll, of course, identify a naysayer or imagine one. This might be somebody who speaks in opposition to the argument you're making. The first place you could actually go for this is to try and invert your own thesis statement. Relate a counter argument or even pose a question that might go unanswered that you need to anticipate. And then, of course, once you have this, you're going to give it a voice, and then ultimately you're going to try and answer it. And of course, I do break down here, and so this actually comes overlappingly from the document we're going to look at in just a second that you'll be answering questions from about identifying a naysayer, relate a counter argument, and pose a question. Okay, now once we have this set up, we're not quite done yet. We sort of need to take the next step, which was we need to refute it. We need to actually look at whatever it is, whether it's a naysayer, we need to answer or refute them. Or sometimes we have what's called making concessions, and I do, of course, provide you with some examples here that I want to make sure that you take a look at. And then beneath here, I have more on naysayers and exercises. This is the other place I want you guys to go and look for me. Go ahead and just open this up here. But this is the document that I brought over most of that information from, and of course they have some ideas here for templates. But what I really want to focus on, because most of this information I went over, is I really want you to focus on practicing the exercises. Now, there are 2 exercises that you will then answer and make part of the discussion post you will make for this week. First exercise is to practice imagining a naysayer. Choose one of the topics below that you feel strongly about and write a brief and persuasive summary of your belief regarding that topic. Then write a summary of the opposite point of view. So you're going to write 2 summaries. One for, one against on the topic below. And then what you're going to end up doing is I would like you guys, if you get a chance, to look at each other's and try and see if you can determine which side is what the person comes down on, because you're not going to label these for or against, okay? And then the last one is an example of someone who's written out an argument, but they have forgotten to insert a naysayer or a counter argument into their argument. And you'll see here that they have 3 paragraphs. What you're going to do is insert a 3rd paragraph between the "we must develop public policies" and then the in a nation where pharmaceutical companies. You're going to insert a paragraph in between there where I would like you to try your hand at practicing a counter argument. Now, none of this needs to be flawless because I'm going to go in here, see how you did. We'll talk about this when we get back, or I'll give you guys some feedback in chapter 6. And of course, they do provide you with some samples here. So this is what you're going to answer in relationship to the discussions. And so if I go to the discussion forum here, right here, I point out that this forum will be open until midnight, but this will also count as part, in addition to your feedback and interaction with me as part of Writing Workshop 1, this is going to count towards your attendance. So not doing this will be counted against you. So it does say here that I want you to answer 2 exercises. You would simply go into the forum, create thread, and then post your answers there. And then ideally try to go back at some point and look at what others have written, particularly exercise 1. And then also Writing Workshop 1, I did make a note of this, but I will remind you in the announcement for this week that you need to make sure that if you have not posted that, and I only see 8 here, which means that some people have not posted, you have until the 3rd. So you have until Tuesday, I believe, is what I've actually written down. Let me go ahead and confirm that for a second here. Yes, you have until midnight on the 3rd. You'll notice this is part of that document that was written in for you guys. You have until the 3rd to turn it in. If you not do so, you will miss out on feedback. This will be points counted against you. So if you've not done so with Writing Workshop 1, you need to get that in ASAP, please. All right. Otherwise, I will be returning feedback starting on the 4th, and so 4th, 5th, 6th, during that time frame, you're going to be asked, and I will prompt you once I put Writing Workshop 2 up. I will prompt you again, probably in the middle of the week, to go back to the site, look at what Writing Workshop 2 asks you to do, but at the same time, you will be asked to return to your Writing Workshop 1 and go to your original post. I will have replied with feedback, and then I will also ask you to do something in reply. Most likely, I'll ask you to ask me any questions or make in some further comments about this. All right.